So Russell Brand was labeled a right-winger in a tweet that kind of went viral about Joe Rogan's guests, the guests that he has on. And he clearly was irked by that fact. And so he did a segment addressing it. Now, it's a much longer segment. I suggest you go look at the entire thing. This is sort of like spliced up a whole bunch of different parts of it where he's addressing this claim. Let's take a look and then I'll react.
Sort of talked about Joe Rogan's guests and their political biases. And I noticed that, oh, Russ, me, the person who I live inside of, whose voice I use when I talk, Russell Brand, that's who I am, is featured on there, has been on Joe Rogan 3 times. Fine, sure, I remember those occasions. But as a right-wing guest, how am I right-wing? I'm anti-war. If anti-war makes me right-wing, then I guess I'm right-wing. I don't agree with Tucker on identity politics. I don't agree with Tucker on the issue of homelessness. I see some stuff on that channel. I think, God, that is not me at all. I believe that big tech companies should be really strongly regulated and broken down. I believe that massive companies should pay their taxes in the countries that they make money from. I believe that public health workers, firefighters, police officers, people that do jobs that put their own lives on the line should be properly paid, properly supported, properly trained. I believe that the most vulnerable people in society, the mentally ill, drug addicts, the vulnerable, should be looked after and taken care of. I believe that small businesses should be given every opportunity to thrive. I believe that communities should be run by the people that live in them, and however you identify, sexually, racially, religiously, that's your business, your right. You should be whoever you want to be. That all of us should allow one another to be who we are and get on with it. So, if wanting Big Pharma to be regulated and for ordinary Americans to buy drugs at a reasonable price is right-wing, then I'm right-wing. We also talked about Johnson & Johnson's part in the opioid crisis. Now, for me, that's an attack on big business. Criticising big business, whatever else it is not right-wing. And the whole reason, I'm aware of this, that a voice such as mine, along with loads and loads of other voices, I'm not claiming to be the only show in town, has become relevant, is because of the ineffectualness of the contemporary media, their unwillingness to openly critique big business, because they've allied themselves with the political centre-left. I wouldn't even call that the left. That's not capable of being the left. The left should be representing the interests of ordinary people against big business.
So there you have it. Let me go ahead now and throw up this next graphic. This is the viral tweet that he's responding to. So this says, Joe Rogan fans often point to his fig leaf endorsement of Bernie Sanders as proof that Rogan isn't right-wing, but right-wingers overwhelmingly are his favorites, as you can see from his guest list. Help me add to this if you'd like. So, yeah, the list is, you can see on the left there, Crystal Ball, Kamau Bell, Lee Camp, Tommy Chong, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Jimmy Dore, Anna Kasparian, me, Dan Savage, Amy Schumer, Kevin Smith, Edward Snowden, Cenk Uygur, and you can see the number of times that these guests have been on. And then you see the other column of people who are, you know, nominally on the right that Joe has had on. Now, there's a couple things in response to this. First of all, the list is nowhere near complete and nowhere near accurate. So just to give a few corrections, in the left-wing column, David Pakman's not listed. He's been on at least twice. Cornel West isn't listed, and he called that one of his favorite podcasts. Bernie Sanders isn't listed, even though Bernie Sanders named in the tweet, but he wasn't included on the guest list. Weird. Abby Martin isn't included, and I don't know, man. I think, so I'm tied for the most of a lefty going on YouTube, according to this graphic, but I don't even think that's true. I think Abby may have been on more times than me. So she's had to at least have been on 5 times. And I was on 5 times. She may have been on 6, 7 times. I mean, I seem to recall her being on a lot. So that's just a few problems with the left-wing column. And then the right-wing column, I mean, shit. Let's see some of the names here. Roseanne Barr, yeah, fair to call her right-wing now. Carl Benjamin, that's Sargon of Akkad, yeah, definitely right. Owen Benjamin, definitely. In fact, he's like openly alt-right and very questionable now, to say the least. That guy's got real issues. I think literally like mental issues. Alex Berenson, I'm not exactly sure who that is. Peter Boghossian, he's like a professor who's sort of in this anti-woke lane. But Russell Brand included in the right, I mean, that's just not fair. It's just not. Adam Carolla's right-wing. Steven Crowder's definitely right-wing. I'm not sure who Adam Curry is. Tim Dillon is not right-wing. He's definitely an anti-woke comedian, but his politics are also left-leaning in terms of, you know, the economy and war and things of that nature, and it's pretty clear that he's left in that sense. Nick DiPaolo is definitely right-wing. Sagar's right-leaning. Tulsi, I mean, look, was a registered Democrat. I don't know if she still is. Most of her views were left-leaning. She definitely has done sort of a turn and gone in a right-wing direction, but I don't know if it's fair enough just to call her right-wing. They need to add another column that's almost like enlightened centrist or something, and maybe even another column that's like just apolitical and not involved in politics at all, because a lot of his podcasts have nothing to do with politics at all. You know, they got Sam Harris in the right wing, on the right wing side. I mean, some of his views, yes, but a lot of his views, no. Again, they should add the enlightened centrist column or something of that nature. This list is just not very accurate. Yes, a lot of these people are right wing, but a lot of them are either not or sort of in a weird middle ground, or they have some right wing views and some left wing views. I mean, Steven Pinker, just right wing is fair to call him that? I don't know. Maybe some of his views, but I don't think that's an all-encompassing label that really makes too much sense for him. Bridget Fetisi, again, there's got to be some sort of enlightened centrist column here. Now, by the way, even given all the corrections, yeah, I still think it's fair to say that most of his guests lean right. I just don't know why that matters so much and why you hang your hat on that. Joe is a guy who fancies himself sort of apolitical. He's not really, but he thinks he's apolitical. A lot of his views do lean right, but he's got a lot of views that also lean left. And the conversation is so annoying because like now the caricature of him is like, he's just Rush Limbaugh. He's been compared to Rush Limbaugh a number of times in the media now. And that's just not fair. It's just not accurate. It's just not true. The harshest criticism that you can give of him is that, look, he's contradictory. He's contradictory. And usually whatever guests he's sitting in front of, he'll sort of go with the flow wherever the guest wants to take it. So when Ben Shapiro's on, Joe appears a lot more right-wing. And then when I'm on, Joe appears a lot more left-wing. I think that's a fair assessment and a fair criticism, but certainly the way he's being portrayed, I think, is far too harsh. Now, let's get back to the Russell Brand thing. He goes down the list. He's like, look, I'm anti-war. I don't agree with Tucker on identity politics. I think the stuff on homelessness is gross that he does because they want to criminalize. He wants higher taxes on corporations and the rich. He wants to break up big business and regulate them. He wants to help the vulnerable and drug addicts. He wants lower drug prices. And he's trying to establish his lefty bona fides. Is that how you say it? Bona fides? Bona fides? Whatever it is. He's trying to establish that. And Russell Brand, no matter how you slice it or dice it, definitely leans more left than right. I mean, I think that's kind of inescapable. Now, I will say, and this doesn't necessarily apply to Russell Brand, I don't think, but we have to come up with a new word for somebody who is personally, like their own politics are left-wing, but everything they say functionally helps right-wing causes. You know what I mean? Because that is a category that now exists. There is a category of people, and the reverse, too. Somebody who might say, I'm right-wing, but then, everything they say is, to the benefit of the left wing. I think that those are sort of kind of new categories that we need a new title for. We need a new word for. We need a new term for it. I don't know, contrarian leftist. So your politics are actually on the left, but a lot of the stuff you says just bolsters the right, or contrarian right winger. So a lot of the stuff you say helps the left, even though you're right. So that is a category that is real, and I think everybody should acknowledge that that's a thing that exists. But I don't think it's fair to put Russell in that category. I think the reason why they are putting Russell in that category is because Russell has gone hard against vaccine mandates. But I will say that alone does not just make you a right-winger. Now, my position on vaccine mandates, as you all know, I don't like a hard mandate. I think that's too authoritarian, but I like the idea of vaccinate or test. So, you don't have to get the vaccine, that's fine, but you should have to test in the height of a fucking pandemic where thousands of people are dying every day in the U.S. I think that's fair. So I think that sort of splits the difference between the community well-being and individual rights. But just because Russell is against the mandates, that doesn't just mean you could say he's right-wing, full stop. I don't think that's fair. So there is another thing that happens where the media does try to, anybody who they think is borderline or questionable, they'll just say they're on the right. And they'll go after them in a vicious culture war-induced, culture war-drunk kind of way. And that's annoying because this is it's such a disadvantage that the left has where it's everybody just wants to declare others are not left enough and they're more pure. And so you make your circle tighter and tighter and tighter until you're talking there with like 3 friends and nobody else wants to be with you. And so it's basically the opposite of a big tent approach. It's the opposite of changing hearts and minds and accepting with open arms. And the fundamental contradiction at the heart of that, as we talked about with Ben Burgess on Crystal Kyle and Friends, is like, there are leftists, probably most leftists, who agree, look, if you committed a crime, we want to try to rehabilitate you. We don't want to just punish you, lock you up, throw away the key, because that's brutal. That's unfair. And that makes no sense. So if you can actually rehabilitate somebody, we should try to rehabilitate them. And if we succeed in rehabilitating them, then you welcome them back in with open arms. If you committed grand larceny or you committed this crime or that crime, or people even want to rehabilitate murderers. And so on the one hand, it's like, let's be open-minded enough to try to rehabilitate people who commit the most heinous crimes. But on the other hand, it's like, well, if you tweeted something in 2009 that was racist or was problematic, you're like permanently banned from the club. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. You can't believe so much in rehabilitation and welcoming people on the one hand, and on the other hand, believe in the opposite, believe in like this absolutist essentialism, where it's like, you are the worst of the things you've ever said and done. So anyway, Russell's not right-wing. I think sometimes he tries to appeal to a much broader audience, and he makes such a concerted effort to do that oftentimes his videos don't focus on his left-wing beliefs that much. But that is a fundamentally different thing from saying he's just right-wing, full stop. So clearly, he didn't like being labeled that, and I think his response was sufficient to say the least. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.